Love
presentation is probably the most important that you will ever hear, because it affects all of us, everybody in the world. And I just learned about that issue this morning, and I thought we better get some information out to everyone and put it in archives so you can send your friends to the site, have them update themselves. We are talking about, folks, a major, major event that has been suppressed through the media and through all information outlets. I want to turn the time over now to a specialist who has considerable expertise, enough to impress me with the background and the knowledge that she has regarding this event. Folks, I can't urge you enough to contact your friends and family. Let them know about this immediately. Time is of the essence. In fact, we are out of time now to prepare for this. Okay, please proceed. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. My name's Patty Broussard. 7 years in the military, former sergeant, missile systems, communications, satellite uplinks, that sort of thing. Did a lot of work for NASA, as well as places like Lockheed Martin, Polaris, and whatnot. Built robots, all that. We currently have inbound our second sun. We are a dual sun system. Our second sun, it comes around every 32 to 3,600 years. There's been a cataclysm. That is why the remains of the pyramids and whatnot have been left behind during each successive. There's been 5 of them that we know of. Anyhow, our second sun is inbound with 7 planets. Now, NASA said was true. The sun is not going to come into system. In other words, it's not going to come in and plow into planets or anything. What it is going to do is it's got 7 planets, and their orbits overlap ours. And this needs to be prepared for. The dust that's being pushed ahead of it's already hitting us. And when it ramps up to enough of an impact, like it's doing to Mars right now, we're going to lose our electric grid. If the electric grid goes down, we lose all our nuclear power plants. You need to prepare for that. Basically, it's underground or under Earth at the minimum. The reason for that is...
You're talking about surviving this event. We need to go underground or under Earth, okay?
The reason why is a pole shift has already started. It's going to complete during this event that's coming up. August is the month that things start getting really bad. They say August through November, roughly. But it's going to be 6 years at that time. The reason why you need to be underground or in a cave or something of that nature, when the pole shift goes, we lose our magnetic shield. That means UVA, UVB, UVC coming directly from the sun, full blast, just like it is on Mars right now. It's going to be hitting the surface. You don't want to be out in that. As will microwaves from the sun.
Question, why have not we been informed about this?
50 years ago, NASA informed them of this. They built dumps, deep underground military facilities. They have enough room for the elite and the government. They've been building them for 50 years. That's where they're planning on hiding. And the heck with us. And they've been storing food and oxygen. And the past 2 years, they've been running the plants that make nuclear fuel rods to power their domes. 300 tons a year each. And actually, it's the making of the nuclear fuel rods is what destroyed the ozone, because they are exempt from the CFC laws. So they're going to leave the public on their own. Right now, as of today, stationing our troops around the dome entrances. And they've brought troops in from Israel and from Russia to deal with the public, because they won't be afraid to shoot at you. Do not riot. That's what they want. Obama wants to institute martial law to round up any people who protest and put them in the FEMA camps. That's what they were built for.
So they've known about all of this for a long time. They've prepared for themselves, and they're planning the extermination of the rest of us.
They want 500,000 people. That's on the Georgia Guidestone that they built. And they want complete, utter control over whoever's left, which means getting chipped.
Chipped meaning putting one of their chips in us, neck or otherwise, so they know where we are.
They know where you are. They know a lot more than that, which I'm not even going to get into this because it's not relevant as far as mind control and all that. They have that ability.
You were going to go into evidence of how you know all this is occurring.
I have access to just about every satellite we have in orbit. And I remotely took over an entire observatory and used a telescope and took pictures. NASA took pictures too, but they only took pictures and said only the sun is going to go around the system, and that is true. But they lied via omission because they didn't mention the 7 planets around it. I've put pictures up of Mars, of the debris hitting its atmosphere, what little it has of it, as well as a picture from the rover.
Picture with the white rings?
That one there. That's the pole of Mars, taken from orbit. But the one with the hole in the center, that's the debris hitting Mars' atmosphere, causing electromagnetic discharge.
What the ancients called the thunderbolts of Zeus.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen here. Only worse, because we have an actual atmosphere. And a lot of electric stuff running around on the ground, telephone poles are going to catch fire. And the wires on them will melt and hit the ground. This is already happening.
And wood houses, you said, will just burn up?
Eventually, yeah, because of the heat. Once the poles start, the rest of the pole shift switches and we lose our electromagnetic shield entirely, you're getting UVA, UVB, and UVC, plus ultraviolet is going to be pouring down on the surface. It's like taking your house and sticking it in a microwave.
You say it's going to happen in August, so we're saying there is no more time to prepare, or we have 1 week, we have 3 weeks. What do you predict? Getting from
I'm predicting the 11th.
Where it is now to I'm sorry?
I'm predicting the 11th is when it's going to become to the point where nobody can ignore it. I mean, we can already see.
So what happens? You said already we can see the evidence in the sunrise and sunset.
Yeah. When our
what do we
lights them up
there?
They're round globes. They look like, well, the last time I looked, they were about maybe a tenth the size of the moon on the side of the sun.
Yeah.
Those are
and they're only getting bigger.
Planets.
And like I said, the one that's supposed to swing by us, which apparently it does every time, is more than 4 times the size of Jupiter. They've speculated that the asteroid belt between us and Jupiter used to be a planet that got hit dead on. That's what created the asteroid belt.
Wow.
And they've got names for these. They're written on the walls of the pyramids.
We can see the things coming in the sunrise and sunset.
Mm-hmm.
But by the 11th, you say we're going to have all of this radiation and everything coming, so we won't be able to go outside. The power lines will be broken. All electricity will be off.
The link I gave you to Spam 3D, that's the only place right now I know of that's doing live tracking is Europe. And we have stuff coming in right now. 12 stations there that are monitoring the atmosphere, and they're picking up debris coming in already. This is not particles. This is the bigger stuff, like Mars is getting bombed with. It's already starting to hit us, as in right now.
Okay, so what should we do now?
Prepare.
Build
food, water, get under either concrete or earth, stone, earth.
How deep
Preferably
underground?
with earth over it, because earth absorbs radioactivity and everything like that as well. Because when we're losing the power grid, all the nukes are going to end up just like Fukushima. And that's 3 coriums miles down in the ground pushing radioactive steam. Now, they say we have 100 working nuclear reactors. In the U.S., it's more than that. Mass is listed as having one. We actually have 5 reactors, only one of which is shut down, but it still has all the fuel sitting there. Your colleges, all your big colleges, all have nuclear reactors. You don't want to try and shelter right beside one of them. Just like, you don't want to, try and shelter right beside a nuclear reactor, that generates power. Plus, I posted a list, a map today with the sites that make rods and things like that also have reactors. They don't produce power, but they actually have reactors that are actually bigger than nuclear power plants.
There's a turned-off nuclear generator reactor 15 miles from where I am. So that's too close. Is that what you're saying?
That's way too close.
Yeah, 150 miles is a kill zone around the reactors in Japan.
And that's the initial kill zone, not the fallout zone.
Let's talk about the radiation levels across North America you were describing to me earlier.
They're gradually ramping up. 200 over this past year was getting to be normal, 200 counts per minute, CPM. But the entire middle of the United States right now is in the 400s, 500s, some sites as high as 700. That's not good. And that's looking at the gamma. Looking at the beta, we're pushing between 100 and 200, which is very unhealthy. Basically, when it comes to the beta stuff, 12 has become the norm for background, even though it used to be 0.02 before they started playing with bombs. And we're getting readings a couple hundred. The worst of the fallout from Fukushima that hit the West Coast was putting out numbers in 700, and that's Bakersfield, California. And they have over 100 people a week dying there. And this has been going on for 2 years. All the news media places and whatnot moved out of there. That's how bad it is. They just relocated. You can't survive it.
Where do they get
Not over the long term.
I know radwatch.info and HARP status. What are some of the sites that people can find them at, other than, say, the Facebook groups?
The easiest one to get to is called NetC, www.netc.com. There's a bunch of radioactive signs there. You put your mouse on it, click on it, and it'll tell you what it's reading.
But by city, by region?
No, these are sites that are on the entire U.S., but they're monitor sites. They don't give you every town. They don't give you every city. These are where their monitors are. If you go to the EPA, their site goes, all their monitoring goes to a server, and then they dish up edited RADs. What I post in my group at World Radiation Rising is I go directly to the equipment, and I pull the equipment directly. I do a screen capture and save it. So I get the actual readings.
WorldRadiationRising.com?
No, that's on Facebook. It's my group on Facebook.
Oh, Facebook. Okay.
Closed group, it'll still show up on the search engines.
It'll show up on the search. I have to add you. I had to do that because they tried to crash it. And we had people I added that came in and started deleting stuff.
Now, the people in Europe are saying the chemtrails, a lot of people who study this for years are saying the chemtrails are to prevent us from seeing what's actually appearing in the sky until it's too close.
You take chemtrails, you put aluminum and you put strontium in them, and then release them. That's going to attract a lot of your radiation. Then when you hit it with HARP, you're vibrating the metal. Anytime you vibrate something, you heat it. And using that, they've been able to direct a lot of the radiation and dump it in specific spots. Because if you bring that whole cloud of radioactivity up to certain different levels is where your upper winds go in a lot of different directions. You can pretty much direct it to drop where you want it. Bakersfield, California is one of the places they figured, there's really no assets in place that are going to be damaged by dumping it there. So they dumped a lot there. The main thing is that it's getting cut in 2 streams. One goes south and down to Bakersfield and then across the lower U.S. The other one went up across the top of the U.S. because Monsanto is paying them not to dump radioactivity on their GMO corn.
which is Kansas, Nebraska, and Iowa.
Yeah. And, of course, once the lower one comes across, they have to heat it a second time to keep it from being dumped on D.C. But anything south of Atlanta is very difficult to do because the air is already warm. They've messed up once and dumped a whole bunch on Atlanta, right on the CDC.
Now, I wanted to mention NEXRAD because the NEXRAD is ionizing, essentially, they look like cell towers, but by ionizing the air, when you ionize, an element such as, air or water, then whatever is in that air or water is excited. The molecules are excited. And so essentially these NEXRAD towers allow them to ionize the air near the ground. Does that pull the radiation to those spots?
I think they're doing that because of what Fukushima's spewing. They're trying to force the plutonium through its decay chain, so we can't get evidence of plutonium on the ground. The initial blast of Fukushima number 3 had 56 rods in the pool of plutonium breeder rods. That's 1/3 plutonium-239, 240, and 241. 240 stifles nuclear blast, causes fizzles. 241 is really dirty. It's so dirty that you can't work with it, and the output frags out electronics. The 239 is what they want. They were sent there to be cleaned. There's 56 in the pool. The hydrogen blast compresses the rods. And now, the plutonium in the rods is held apart by springs. It only takes 6.2 kilos of plutonium-241 to go boom. Just put it together. That's it. And 10.6 kilos of plutonium-239 to go boom. That's what happened to the pool of 3. That was a fizzled nuclear blast.
Okay, so let's get off of that and discuss.
Well, let me say one thing. In that the first 2 weeks of Fukushima, it put 12 tons of plutonium into the air. That is
it only takes 10 kilos
to go boom, and 212 went in the ground when number 3 melted out, and that's what's being spewed. 56 rods at 700 pounds of material each.
That'll happen to the reactors in the United States?
Yes.
Okay, so let's move on to now. Is this 100% sure going to happen?
Yes.
There's no getting around it?
No. I've also posted all the NASA deployment and everything. They've been letting people go left and right so they could go prepare. The ones that do not have a seat in the dome got let go, so they could go and dig a hole and build a concrete-style, bunker. But not in the ground.
Is this why they're pulling the ambassadors out of all countries?
That's where one of the government's gone wrong. They've built these really deep bunkers. They're going to get crushed. You don't want to be deep underground any more than you want to be out on the surface. It's going to be worse than they figured because they've been fracking all and up and down both sides of the Mississippi. The Gulf is a giant caldera, and when you make oil by breaking down biological matter, that releases methane. Methane builds up in the top of the cavern where they get oil from. It goes solid by pressure, not by temperature. They punch holes in that. It's leaking. They can't stop it. The pressure at the wellhead of the pipe coming out of the ocean bottom is 100,000 psi, pounds per square inch of methane is coming out. You mix that with petrochemicals and you get the right mix of oxygen, it goes boom. It's what we call a monopropellant. Add to the fracking they've been doing, when that does go up, you're going to have liquefaction. So you're going to have water, coming all the way up the Mississippi, 200-300 miles wide, all the way up to the Great Lakes. That's why I'm saying high ground. The mountains that run up just to the west of the Midwest is where they've put primarily most of their bases. You don't want to be around them either, because they're going to be crushed, and you're probably going to end up with massive sinkholes with a nuclear blast because they're running nuclear power systems in those.
So what should we look for on the 12th?
drinking water.
Well, yeah, but what's going to happen is as the dust and impacts our atmosphere heat up, you're going to lose sight of the sun. Every place is going to be clouded over until it gradually builds up momentum and electrical charge. At that point, it'll start, you'll have lightning bolts coming down everywhere, destroying things. The poles will go on fire and things of that nature. Right now, before it gets too bad, at sunrise and sunset, you can see these planets inbound around the sun. Any electronic or electrical appliance is going to be fried. Anything that's electrical or electronic that you want to keep, computers and whatnot, they all have to go in a Faraday cage, or they're going to get cooked. And it don't matter if you're in a cave, they'll get cooked. The very atmosphere is going to become so electrically charged it would fry it. That's why the more ground you got between you, the better, because it's also going to cause people to become disorientated. It's much the same as when you have a transformer blow up. If you have people sitting, walking next to them, their mind becomes confused. They become befuddled because your mind is electrical. You put too much current around it, it reduces your ability to even be able to think.
Okay, so if this doesn't happen, we go on with life as normal. If it does, then everything, we better plan to die or prepare to live.
Yeah, this it's not a question. If you go back and you look at the dating on all of the relics that have been found, you kind of got to do a study on this, because most of your museums have been hiding a whole bunch of evidence going back 300 million years that they have in hand. This has happened over and over and over again. Like I said, it's happened at least 5 times that we know of. And generally, around 87% of people die off each time. Now, because of the tilt of the Earth, right now, all the energy that's picked up by our magnetic field tries to enter the South Pole, which is covered with ice. Fresh ice, no salt in it. Fresh water does not conduct electricity. Salt water does. When it switches and goes to the lake up there in Alaska, the energy will be able to enter the Earth again. You have a period of buildup and a period of decline of energy. When it enters the pole, like it did when all the pyramids were built, each time those pyramids were built, and all over the world, when it was coming, the south magnetic pole was in Alaska. That revitalizes the ley lines, repumps energy into them. The Pentagon's actually the biggest buyer of oil. They buy more oil than all the oil that's used to produce for consumer gas to run the military.
But I wanted to give out the site Provident Living, because it's the most effective way for people to network in their known neighborhoods with people who are preparing, without them, because I've heard people say, well, we'll just find somebody that's stored food and we'll take it from them, and they can say what they want.
Yeah, don't be vocal about what you have. Do not be vocal about what you have. And the recent laws that they've passed since January, effectively, or so they claim, gives them the right to come in and take everything you own. All your food, your car, your house, everything. That's why the laws that got passed about making it illegal to have gardens in your yard. Yep. They don't want us to survive. You take care of your family and you prepare, because that's what it comes down to. If you tell everybody about this, they're going to know you're prepared, and it could end up being the life of you or your offspring.
Now, my daughter lives in Tampa Bay, Florida. She's right on the beach. So that's going to be totally flooded, right?
That's going to be totally flooded. It's going to be going. It's going to go underwater and stay underwater. I've also posted maps that have already been issued to the United States Navy. That's how sure this is. They actually printed the maps up and issued them to the entire U.S. Navy of what's going to be underwater. Only I think it's going to be worse than what they projected.
You're going to end up with lakes all over in the middle of the desert.
It's
water
not going to be lakes. It's going to
upward.
be ocean. It's going to be an inland sea.
Well, it was before.
But yeah, the bottom salt flats used to be a sea.
Yeah, sure.
They cut me off.
Right. Okay. And would Tuesday
like
be
I
better
said,
so we can get
They don't want me going out live on the air.
Welcome, everyone. This is Dr. Dennis Taylor, and we're happy to have the second of our series of discussions with Patty Broussard, who held the last discussion, the first one in this series, dealing with an issue that is going to affect all of us. What we want to do is continue on, talk about issues and talk about special things that we need to do to prepare. She talked to me personally about some things after the show last Saturday, and we'll cover those today. Patty, again, we welcome you and thank you for your time and your wonderful experience. Would you provide just a brief introduction for those who didn't listen to the first series?
7 years in the Army, missile systems, communications, nuclear, biological, and chemical response team. After that, I did work for NASA. Did an orbital work once. But I also did all their computer upgrades, so I have access to all their equipment. So I'm doing this real, actual live capture stuff from orbital. So this has nothing to do with religion or spirituality or visions. This is hard data. After that, I've worked for, like Lockheed Martin and Polaris, and I built the robots they're using at Fukushima right now, things like that. What we have is a second sun, which NASA now admits to. And they say it's not going to come in the system, which is true, but they're lying by omission. What it's bringing with it is 7 planets, and they're the problem. They overlap ours. So basically, we've got a pass-by coming this month. And now through November is going to be all hell breaks loose. But it's starting earlier. All these stellar bodies were pushing a lot of debris, and it's hitting us right now. We've had 3 major power outages over wide areas just yesterday. This stuff is impacting us 24/7 now. And with all the plutonium in the atmosphere from Fukushima, the Bartol's gauges have been off the scale for, more than 8 months. It's supercharging the atmosphere. We're already getting Carrington events. According to the first alignment, stellar body alignment happens on the 17th, but it's not going to wait that long.
And who's indicating it'll be on the 17th?
That's where orbital mechanics puts it.
So,
but that's what I'm saying. It's not going to wait. That's going to be the worst. That's when it's really going to start shaking the planet up, but it's not going to wait that long. That was the projected really bad day starts, but it's not waiting for that because of the dust. It's starting right now. That's why I put up the meteor detection live feed from the spam network, because right now England's the only one that's not under somebody's thumb, and they're actually broadcasting the live feed of what's hitting our atmosphere.
We have a lot of amateur astronomy groups throughout the United States, and I'm surprised that they're not.
A lot of them are broadcasting them. The major observatory people, we've lost 6 of our major astronomers because they were going to talk. They were killed.
They were killed. When was that? Recently,
over the past 2 months. We've lost 6 of them.
Well, then we know what's going on. They're trying to shush everything up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they've got my IP blocked, which is why I'm not even on the site where this is going to be displayed at this point. They're blocking my IP, sending emails. They're wiping stuff off of E&E News.
So
they don't want me getting this word out.
So could we get something that's being released in England? Is there a way to tap into that information?
Yes, I put a live link on Facebook. It's on with the same link of the video that explains everything.
You're
the second
saying
sun really isn't the issue. It stays outside the system. It's her planet. She came with 7.
there's a picture that is attached to this discussion. The background information has a picture of that second sun that Patty took with her own camera with a red lens filter.
No,
Please
that's
look at
thermographic, because that's the only way you can look at it.
Okay.
The only way you can see it is in thermograph.
All right.
She throws no light.
Thank you for clarifying. Everyone asks, well, how do we know this is happening? Well, there's the picture. It has not been touched up, I presume. Has not been altered in any way. And
NASA has one on their server, and they airbrushed it out. But you got to, if you have any observatory or any software, even Google will work. There's a slider down the bottom. Move it to thermographic. It's the only way you're going to see it.
Will we see major earthquakes soon?
Yes, the 17th. Before this month is out, we're going to lose California. And we're talking a magnitude 15 minimum. It's going to start in Seattle because that's what's going to be facing it.
If you could just quickly reiterate that.
When the planetary body gets between us and the sun, we're going to lose our magnetic shield. And what that lets is UV A, B, and C, and ultraviolet hit the surface directly. You don't want to be out in that because you'll die. And before that, our power grids are going to go down. The longest nuclear power plant that I know about has fuel to run generators for 2 weeks. And that's even if their systems don't fry entirely, which may happen. So we're going to have meltdowns. And there's far more than 104 they're talking about. Massachusetts lists 1, we have 5. So you're going to have fallout to deal with. Core melts, like Fukushima, within 2 weeks of the grid going down. That's 2 weeks at the outside. There are many that only have about a week. And the ones that lose their systems due to the Carrington event aren't going to have even a day before they melt out. You have average of about 7 hours tops before the core melts out the bottom, blows things up. Because as soon as the core hits water, you get the hydrogen, and boom. That's what happened at Fukushima. Those cores were already out of the building, and they hit a water layer in underneath the building that generated the hydrogen that caused them to blow up.
Okay, so you said that we need to be 250 miles away from any of these generators, even if they're not functioning at the present time. Like I've got one here in Omaha.
150 miles is a kill zone, and that's because the rod pools are going to catch on fire. And most plants that are, even though they're shut down, they have a lot of rods in the pools. And there's also other locations that are not listed as power plants because they're not. They just store rods in pools. On my sites, I've listed a lot of maps that need to be printed out to gauge where it's going to be safe from that, because that's immediate.
One thing
all the other effects aside, that's going to be immediate, because you get that fallout on you, you've got maybe 2 days of life tops.
So it can't be washed off?
No. The fallout when rods go up, no, you can't wash that off. They can't even operate to save you. So that is primary. That's going to be one of the first major issues, that and quakes. That's why I've been pushing so hard to get all the nuclear power shut down. And I don't know, take the rods and stick them in a lake somewhere is about the only way to take a miss at this problem.
So let's go over again. Number one, people need to move away, first of all, immediately.
Immediately.
From any of these locations.
Once the UV and microwaves come down, there ain't going to be any more trees. They're going to all catch fire and burn in the houses. Anything made of wood, it's going to burn. And a medical. Whatever you can get for medical, including antibiotics and everything else that you can get. It's not going to be cheap now. The prices are going up daily. And then there's a shipping issue. Pay the extra money to get it overnighted. It's the only thing I can suggest. Because once people go outside and see this going down, they've already said they're going to pull the banks. So if you've got money in the bank, pull it out today. And money's only going to be good for, a couple of weeks into this event. After that, it's not going to matter. It's going to be worthless.
So exchange will be food commodities.
Yeah. Food and water, fresh water, and, of course, medical supplies. Because there's going to be people that will make it through this out of dumb luck. When the pole shift goes down, there's going to be, everybody on the coast is dead. That's just, if you're on the coast of the ocean, forget it.
Okay, that's all coasts.
All coasts.
Around the world, yeah.
Yeah. One of these bodies is going to come in close enough that it may. It's happened before. We don't know if it's going to happen this time, but if it passes close enough, it temporarily slows down Earth's rotation. The problem with that is the water keeps going. The water is tied to the moon.
So
that's
tidal waves.
Flooding. Yeah. And tidal waves traveling at 1,000 miles per hour or more.
And you said that they will actually have an ocean here in the middle of the U.S.
Yes. And that is because of the methane hydrate. Once the oxygen level gets to the right amount, you don't even need to set that off. Oxygen and methane with a little bit of petrochemical mixed in is what we call a monopropellant. They use it to, fuel rockets. That's what the Gulf is. That's going to be one of the largest man-made explosions ever.
How far in from the coast should they go? It's by altitude, right? Not by distance?
When the poles melt, that's plus 200 feet above current sea level. And then you got to go above that for your tsunami. So there's not a whole lot. The mountain ranges are about it. And that's going to be a wild ride, too, just being on a mountain.
Because everything
gravity
will burn anyway.
Is currently all over the place. I sent my daughters to where I think they'll be safe as best they can. I'm not making it through this, but I'm already so messed up now it doesn't matter. I'm going to stay here right to the end and get as much information out as I can.
You're in Massachusetts?
Yep. So we're gone.
Yeah.
And I mean, my basement is actually, the floor of my basement is sea level right now. When we have floods here, it's actually, -3.
So they need to be mobile and carry everything with them and move to higher ground. In
your car today. Stop packing your trunk.
Homes will be burned because they're mostly wood.
Mostly the ultraviolet is it's like taking your entire house and putting it in a microwave. And when you think about it, all your walls have electrical wires in them. It's metal. You ever put something metal in a microwave?
Yeah, there's sparks.
Yeah. Which is why you got to anything electronic you plan to keep, you got a Faraday cage inside of wherever you're gonna ride this out.
This is so alarming to the fact that our government
The other thing
is anyone. Okay, the question came up from Doreen: why isn't the government in hiding yet?
They already called in everybody that's overseas. That's why they closed all the embassies. Everybody with a seat's already been called. Our U.S. troops are now deployed in the United States around their dumb entrances. And they've got Soviet troops and to deal with the crowds and to put people in the FEMA camps where you're just going to die because they are not rigged to keep you alive in those things. That's a field expediency, and that's why they've got all those plastic coffins that you can fit 3 bodies in.
Yeah, they've been collecting those for a long time.
Yep.
I saw pictures of them on railroad cars.
You do not want to riot because that's what Obama wants, because once you do that, he issues martial law, and then he gets to take, everything you've got. And we don't want martial law put down because that means the people who have prepared, they'll show up with troops and take everything, so they die. This has been well planned out. World War II was a practice run for concentration camps and such. Nothing. When this carriage event goes down, nothing is electronic is going to survive. That's why I'm saying you need to basically Faraday cage yourself in metal, grounded metal. Otherwise, anything outside of that, a Faraday cage during this event is going to get fried, anything electronic.
The question came up, what are the first signs that people are going to see so that they know it's imminent?
We're already seeing it. The transformers on poles blowing up and the wires themselves heating up and melting.
Where's that happening?
We just lost almost more than a quarter of Florida yesterday. Another one in Ohio, and where was the other one? Jersey, I believe. This is already happening. We have asteroids, small ones, little tiny things, peppering us right now. This body pushed in front of it. And because of all the plutonium and really fissionable elements that Fukushima's been throwing out for more than 2 years, our atmosphere is already pretty supercharged. We've been having pole fires right along as far up as Chicago. But Texas has been getting the worst of it, and Florida went yesterday. It's ramping up.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I do have another question. How far inland from these coastlines are going to be toast? Or is it just anybody that's not underground?
If you're not above, at least, at a guesstimate, I'd say 1,000 feet above sea level, you're not going to make it.
That's anywhere, correct?
Yes, at any location.
Around
they give 65 feet as the listing on the icebergs that are already in the ocean melting, okay, which are 2/3 in the water. So that 65 feet is only based on the 1/3 that's above the water. What we're talking is the poles melting. That's the glaciers and stuff that are up on land. That's plus 200 feet. That's just the water level. That doesn't count waves and the tsunami that's going to happen. Nobody on the shore is going to survive, period.
They're going to go underwater, correct?
Yeah, they'll be underwater.
And this is going to happen between now and the 17th of August?
No, the end of August and the beginning of September, we're going to start losing places like Seattle and the top of California. The quakes, massive quakes. Because when it first comes through, we're talking, when we get the next alignment, the body is so close. We've already had 4 alignments happen. And the Japan quake was one of them, Chile was one of them. When these bodies line up, the gravity is boosted. The next one hits Seattle, and it's going to be like a Mag 15.
Wow. And what parallels do you need to be away from for the pole shift?
The new South Magnetic Pole is going to be right just north of Tagish Lake in Alaska.
No, I mean, as far as in the United States, what parallel do we need to be away from? What degree?
No, it doesn't work that way. If you figure Tagish Lake in Alaska as the new South Magnetic Pole and shift that, that's going to tell you all your lines of latitude and longitude are going to shift. So telling you that now isn't going to make any difference. I've got a map of the new layout on my site as well.
Okay.
And that's more or less to do with after, because you don't want to be on the pole. You'll freeze. Either.
Beautiful. You want to be on the South Pole or the North Pole, correct?
Right.
What do you do when you try to tell your family this and they think
they don't listen? We've got a family reunion planned for the 10th through the 17th. Can you believe that shit? They don't listen to me.
We're all nutcases because we try to warn people.
I mean, my daughter's listening, that's it. And only one of them.
That's the same here. I've got one daughter that has listened, and everybody else thinks we're nuts.
Yeah, they think we're walking around with 10.5 lines with the antennas problem.
I've got one son that lives on the Mississippi Gulf Coast with a brand new baby.
If you say that the South Pole is going to be in Alaska, so everything's going to flip-flop and will be upside down.
Yeah.
So in reality, we're not all die anyway.
What's that?
I said in reality, we're not going to all die anyway.
No. The people who watch the vid and are prepared will make it through. And the thing is, you only want to tell close people, family members, wherever you're going to set up, don't tell anybody. Because if it comes down to a person who didn't prepare and they've got kids, they'll kill to save the kids and steal everything you got.
I agree.
Don't mix it up with authorities.
Those that are going to be saved by the government and put in these places, they won't have workers. These will all be officials.
All the camps are fully staffed as of now. But bear in mind, every single one of them has train tracks with train, to move a lot of people quickly. And most of the receiving buildings have big 2-foot around gas pipes to the top of the building, like they did at Auschwitz. They don't want people to live through this. They want 500,000 people, and that's it. And the majority of the people, the 500,000, they're taking down the dumbs with them.
Are all these people underground going to make it? All these government officials?
No, they're going to get crushed. I wouldn't go down one of those dumbs if you paid me.
Yeah. I didn't think God would let them survive anyway for doing what they're doing now.
And the other issue is they posted pictures of what the Air Force uses to make the tunnels, their transportation system between them. They're going to get busted open and filled with water. They have a tunnel under the mountains from the shore of California where they're moving all the nuclear subs now. It actually goes under the mountains to their dome that's on the other side. They actually lost a sub there once when they were doing it. That was in the news, I don't know, 10 years ago.
Are the truck shipments that are going into Denver, Colorado, going into the underground now?
Yep. The Queen of England even is coming here because England's toast.
The reason why I say that is I was a truck driver last year, and we made a shipment to Denver, Colorado, to UPS, and on the bill, all it said was general merchandise.
Yep.
And I guess that's where it went.
In the middle of the country, the north middle of the country, they've got a giant salt cabin that they've been moving stuff for 20 years. Wow. I mean, this is so big that you can drive 4 tractor-trailer trucks abreast inside it. Right now they're not even eating the radioactive food we've got. That's why they don't care about the fallout. And they've bumped the limits up so that they don't have to do any, take any action.